Hey everybody, welcome back to the LDM Technique Series. So today we're going to start talking about basic strokes. In our last video we covered how to hold the stick and how to use the different grip positions, being mashed and traditional grip. So today we're going to start actually playing on the drum. So there are 4 basic strokes that every drummer needs to learn and master. If you master these 4 basic strokes, you can pretty much play about 95% of everything that's gonna ever be put in front of you, because it's all gonna be different combinations of one or more of those 4 basic strokes, with some slight exceptions when we'll get to those later. So what are the 4 basic strokes? Well, the first 2 we're gonna cover today, and that is the full stroke and the downstroke. Okay, so the full stroke. It's the easiest one of all, right? Basically, you're gonna start, you have your playing position, which we've already established. You're gonna lift your sticks up to the up position. That means you just turn your wrist and bring the stick up, okay, to here. Now, a full stroke means it's gonna start from this position and end here in the same position, right? You're gonna let the stick fall, hit the drum, bounce, and come back up to the same position, like this. Boom, okay? Boom. That's a full stroke because it's a full range of motion from all the way up here, all the way down, and all the way back up, okay? Now, you want the stick to bounce, right? Drums are made for the sticks to bounce off of them. Now, you want it to bounce as much as possible. So, in order to do that, you can't grip the stick hard, okay? Squeezing the stick with all of your fingers is the worst way to drum because the stick will not respond back and it puts tension in your hand and tension in your arm, okay? And you don't want that. Tension is your enemy. Any kind of drumming that you come across, you don't want to have tension at all, okay? So you keep your fingers on the stick, but you don't squeeze the stick, okay? Keeping all of your fingers on the stick enables you control, which you need and you want. You want to control every single thing that the stick does, but you want to allow the stick to move in a natural way. Okay, so for an upstroke, you want the stick to bounce. You want it to bounce high because your goal is for the stick to come all the way back to this position, right? So boom. Now, if you're not squeezing the stick too hard, if you're keeping all your fingers on the stick and you just let it kind of fall, it's gonna bounce on its own almost all the way back up to here. It may not get all the way back here. It may maybe get to here, okay? So you want it to get back to here. So what happens? For that last little bit, you need to help it, okay? And that's where your wrist comes in. You're gonna use your wrist a little bit to just help the stick get back to its original starting position, okay? Boom, boom. So to be clear, you're not helping the stick on the way down. You're not pushing down into the head. You're not squeezing the stick as it gets to the head at all. You're letting the stick fall, letting it bounce, and then your energy comes in on the way up where you help the stick back up. Boom. That's what you want. That's going to get you the best sound because the stick isn't choked off at the point of attack. So the drum is going to speak and you have the most motion to get a nice full sound from your drum. And that is a full stroke. Starting from here, ending there. Starting from here, ending there. Traditional grip, start from here, end there, right? You're just turning your wrist this way. Instead of your wrist moving this way, your wrist is moving this way, okay? Cool. Now, full strokes, sometimes you might see them as referred to as legato strokes, okay? A legato stroke is synonymous with a full stroke, okay? That means it means the same thing. They're referring to the same thing. Some people call them legato strokes because of the fluidity, because there's so much motion going from all the way up here, all the way down, all the way back up here, There's a lot of fluidity and naturalness, kind of has like a legato feel. Okay, as if you know in musical terms, legato means naturally flowing, right? It's not too fast, not too slow, legato, it flows. So the legato strokes flow down and up, down and up, down and up, with a little bit of help on the up. Boom, boom, boom. Make sense? Awesome. So that's your full stroke. The other stroke we're going to do today is the downstroke. Okay? Downstroke is super important, and you're going to use this all the time. But it's very important that we learn how to do it the right way, right from the beginning. Okay? Now, let me tell you what it is. So a downstroke, you're going to start in the same position as your full stroke. Stick up here, right? The only difference is that after you strike the drum, instead of coming all the way back up here, the stick's going to stay down in playing position. Okay? Like this. Boom. Now, you might think, wow, it's going to take a lot of effort to get the stick to stay. Wrong. It does not. Hardly any effort is needed at all for the stick to stop. Okay? You don't really even need to squeeze your hand, because again, we really want to always try to avoid being tense, right? Tension kills good drumming. So you want to stay relaxed in your hand. Keep your fingers on the stick, but don't squeeze it. And just keep all your fingers involved here, and the stick will stop. If you have trouble at first, if you have trouble getting the stick to actually stop without squeezing it, I'm sure it'll stop if you squeeze it. But as you can see and hear, that last hit that I was louder that I did, right? You don't want to affect volume with touch, okay? You want the most pleasing sound as possible, okay? And a lot of that comes from your touch and approach to the drum, which means how you hold the stick, how much pressure or not pressure you put on the stick before and during when it hits the drum, okay? You want the drum to speak. You want the stick to speak, and you can't do that by choking it off, okay? So, starting from here, stick stops here, okay? Now, if you're having trouble stopping the stick without squeezing it, I'll give you a little trick, okay? If you take your ring finger, right? This one, take your ring finger, and as soon as the stick comes down, you just touch your ring finger to the palm of your hand, right there. Just touch it. Don't slap it or squeeze it, but just touch it. When it comes down, feel that ring finger touch your palm, just like a little kiss, just like that. Right when it comes down, boom. No squeezing, just touch that finger to the palm, right there. If you do that, the stick will stop automatically every time, okay? Boom. So that's a trick if you're having trouble stopping the stick without squeezing it, okay? Boom, 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 boom. It'll always stop. Well, here's a question. What if I'm hitting the stick really hard and it just doesn't stop so easily and I have to squeeze it? Well, if that happens, that means you're playing the drum too hard, okay? And this is especially true of marching percussion, okay? You should never hit the drum hard, okay? Volume is height, nothing else. And the reason for that is because you almost always have more than one person playing the same drum and the same part, right? So you get volume in numbers. Even if you just have two or three people, it's the exact same thing, right? If you just lift the stick up this high and have it come down, either in a full stroke or a downstroke, that's gonna be plenty loud, okay? You shouldn't really have to play louder than that. Now, in certain situations, maybe in more advanced groups, you might do things, you might utilize some arm, you know, have some extreme dynamics where you need to do some different things to get that. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about basic drumming, okay? This is as loud as you should ever have to get. Now, if you're in a concert situation with concert drumming, you may have a situation where you have like fortissimo or triple F something on your music, where you might have to like put in some arm like this. If the music requires that, if the conductor requests that, then you can do that. Because the point of concert drumming is to produce whatever sound the music requires and the conductor needs, okay? And your job as a percussionist is to produce that sound with as good sound quality as you can possibly have, okay? So with most marching or rudimental concepts, you're going to never play louder than this, because the only way to do that is to squeeze harder, and that produces tension. Tension is bad, okay? So you have your downstroke, boom, stick stops in playing position, okay? This is why it is so important that, like we talked about in the very first video, you learn exactly how to hold your sticks and where to hold your sticks before you start playing, because it really comes into play right now with something like this, right? If your hands are in the wrong position, let's say your wrists are too low to the drum and you try to do a downstroke, your playing position is going to be all out of whack. Your stick's going to be way up here because your wrists are in the wrong place. But if your playing position is correct, your wrists are in the right place with the drum, your stick is at a nice slight inward distance toward the playing surface, and then you do a downstroke, your stick will be in the exact right place that it's supposed to be, okay? And that's what you want. So it's important, all these things we talked about in the first video, where to hold your stick, where are the beads, where are my hands, make sure all those are happening first before you play a single note on your drum, okay? So then you have your downstrokes and your full strokes, right? Full strokes, your stick is popping back up. It pops up, right? You let it fall on the beginning as it goes down, and as soon as it bounces off the head, you help it with your wrist just a little bit, boom, so that it pops. You want that pop. It's like a toaster, right? As if it's a piece of toast or a Pop-Tart. It pops up really quick. And that's what you want from a full stroke. Boom. So if you slowed this down, you would see that the velocity going down is much slower than the velocity going up. That's what you want, okay? Because that gives you this sound. Full sound and relaxed grip, okay? The opposite of that is bad. That's where the stick goes really fast going down and then slow up, which gives you like this. Bad, okay? Don't do that, because for the stick to move that fast going down, you have to help it, okay? Sticks don't need help going down. You have gravity pulling it down. You have the weight of the stick pulling it down. All those things are enough, plenty, achieve the velocity that you need on the downward motion. What you need is help when you go against gravity and go up. That's why you use your wrist. So from your perspective as a player, the velocity of the stick should be faster going up than going down. And that's super important to remember, right? So boom, boom, boom. Toaster, toaster, Pop-Tart. Boom, like that, okay? So the last example we're going to talk about in terms of full strokes and downstrokes is a very simple exercise that most drumlines use, which is called 8 on a hand, or eights, or something to that effect. Because most drumlines start off their warm-up sequence playing groupings on one hand, and then they switch to the other hand, right? The most common one is 8 on a hand, meaning you play 8 eighth notes on the right hand and then 8 eighth notes on the left hand. Now, all that exercise is a combination of full strokes and downstrokes, okay? So if you're playing 8 on a hand, you're gonna play 7 full strokes, and the last note that you play is a downstroke. So the 8th note is a downstroke. So the last note that you play is a downstroke so that your hand is in stick position when the other hand starts to play. So it looks like this. Okay, Super simple and exactly what we were talking about today. That's just 2 strokes. That whole exercise, 2 strokes. Full strokes with 1 downstroke at the end. And it's super important to not play the downstroke louder than the upstrokes. And the only way you would do that is if you put in some sort of extra tension or emphasis in your hand on that last note, which we've already talked about, that we know that that's bad. That's not something we want to do, right? So even strokes, because a downstroke from here to here is approached exactly the same as a full stroke from here to here. The only difference is the full stroke, you let it bounce and then you help it up just a little bit with your wrist. Downstroke, full stroke. Downstroke, full stroke. Downstroke, full stroke. And that's it. Only 4 basic strokes for 95% of all your drumming, and we've already covered half of them. Okay? Master these, practice these, and in our next video, we're going to talk about the other 2. Okay? So, thank you for listening, and keep practicing, and we'll all get there together. All right? See you next time.